Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
This is the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, where we discuss all the news in the world of soccer. As always, my name is Ben Brown. We are back here on a Monday. Got a lot of good information to talk about today. We're going to be looking at the Champions League from last week. We also have the quarterfinal matchup set. We won't break those down too much, because I do want to save that for when the games will be played, which is April 11th and April 12th. But we'll just sort of preview some of the storylines, look at who is facing who in the last eight of Europe's finest competition. We're also going to look back at this week that was in soccer, including all the top leagues. And we have the international break coming up this upcoming week. So we'll get into some international break games you might want to look at and exactly what that all entails. So, first of all, we're going to start off with, as I mentioned, talking about the UEFA Champions League. We had our second leg fixtures last week between Juventus, Porto, Leicester City, Sevilla, Monaco, Man City, and Atletico Madrid and Bayer Leverkusen. So let's get right into it. On Tuesday, Juventus pick up a 1-0 victory over Porto. So that gives them a 3-0 victory over Porto between the two legs. Not really surprised here. I mean, Juve had 2 away goals, so they should have advanced against Porto. Going back home in Italy, it's a place they simply do not lose at, so no real surprise there. Juventus through into the last 8. On Tuesday as well, Leicester City pick up a 2-0 victory over Sevilla. Kasper Schmeichel is the hero once again, saving another penalty in the game. Saved 2 penalties combined between the two legs, 1 in each game. Leicester City advance 3-2 over Sevilla. They, of course, had the away goal in Spain, needing only 1-0 victory here in England, but they pick up 2, and it was a fantastic result for Leicester. I did not expect it. I thought Sevilla would go through. The Leicester hype train, since they sacked Claudio Ranieri, is just really continued to roll on, and that's exactly what happened on Tuesday. It continued to roll on. They win 2-0 over Sevilla to advance in to the quarterfinal. It's so strange and bizarre, and even honestly just crazy to think that the last team from England, I'm kind of spoiling what happened on Wednesday between Monaco and City with this, but the last team from England to be in the Champions League would be Leicester. You would have thought at the beginning of the season that they would have been the first team to be out of the Champions League, but this year it was Tottenham, followed by Arsenal, and then Manchester City. But the fact that Leicester City are in the last 8 of the Champions League is literally crazy to think. And they may not be doing so well in the Premier League, although they're playing well as of late. They're certainly turning up in the Champions League and continuing that fine form and success that they had last year in the Premier League. So it's definitely a good thing to see. So congrats to Leicester into the last 8 of the Champions League. As I mentioned, I kind of ruined it for Manchester City. That is because Monaco did beat Manchester City 3-1 on Wednesday. So it was a 6-6 tie as far as goals are concerned. But Monaco did get 3 goals at the Etihad Stadium in Manchester in the first leg. Man City only getting 1 goal here in France. So that, of course, means Monaco does advance on away goals, 6-6 overall. In this game, Benjamin Mendy, the left back, he played absolutely fantastic. Got a couple of assists in the first half. Kylian Mbappe The young French sensation scores in the opening 8th minute. And City did have the advantage. They got a goal from Leroy Sané in the second half. So they had a 6-5 lead. But Monaco were able to head home an equalizer in the 79th minute, which was ultimately the winning goal because they do have the tiebreaker edge on away goals. So Monaco do advance over Manchester City. They're in the quarterfinals now in the Champions League 2 out of the last 3 years. So congrats to Monaco. They are through. With the amount of goals they scored, I was not totally surprised that they went through. I did think that City were going to end up going through because they just had a 2-goal lead. But given their back four, how poor their defense is, I was definitely not surprised that Monaco were able to get through and score 3 goals. Because of how many goals they score simply in League One, through 30 games in the league, they've scored 87 goals. And in the Champions League, they're scoring goals at a high rate as well. And given just how poor Manchester City's defense is, I was not really surprised at all that Pep's boys were eliminated here in the round of 16. I didn't see it coming, but like I said, I was not surprised because they really need to address that back four come this summertime. I'm sure Pep Guardiola, who's the manager of City, will definitely be busy in the summer transfer window trying to get in some fresh fullbacks, some center backs, because that's really the only thing holding back Manchester City. The midfield is phenomenal. Up front, you have Sergio Aguero and Gabriel Jesus. Raheem Sterling's playing better as of late, and Leroy Sané on that left side has really found a home since really he started there at Manchester City. He kind of got off to a slow start, but the young German player is really playing fantastic as of recent times. So up front in the midfield, they're good. It's just the back four that they really, really need to address because they just can't stop anyone, and that's the problem right now with Manchester City, and they are ultimately out in the Champions League because of that. And then in the last game there, Atletico Madrid and Bayer Leverkusen did play to a disappointing 0-0 draw. So Atletico Madrid do advance 4-2 on aggregate after they won that score in Leverkusen in Germany. So when you look at the last 8 now, you do have Bayern Munich, you have Real Madrid, you have Dortmund, you have Barcelona, you have Leicester City, you have Monaco, you have Juventus, and you have Atletico Madrid. So the quarterfinal legs did get revealed as of last week, and by God, they're fantastic. They are fantastic. I feel kind of bad because some of these matchups are just literally dream matchups, and that they're going to be played in the quarterfinal is kind of disappointing. I feel like the best 4 teams left in this tournament are Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Juventus. And what kind of sucks is that all 4 of those teams are meeting each other in the quarterfinals. It'd be a lot better if they were semifinals matchups. Of course, you want to see the best teams go through, but that's, of course, the luck of the draw and what really determines a lot of things. So when you look at the fixture matchups, you have Juventus against Barcelona, absolutely fantastic. You have Dortmund against Monaco. You have Atletico Madrid against Leicester City. And you have Bayern Munich against Real Madrid. So the fixtures start on April 11th and April 12th, and the reverse fixture is a week later, April 18th and April 19th. I don't want to get in too depth in these previews because I, of course, want to save them for when the time is right, when they are fresh on the mind, when they're, of course, coming up. But as I mentioned, these are some dream matchups. Juventus and Barcelona, it's a rematch of the final 2 years ago, so that ought to be great. Real Madrid and Bayern Munich, quite honestly, maybe even the top 2 favorites right now because Barcelona is kind of going through a little bit of a slump. You have Dortmund and Monaco. I would expect a ton of goals there. And then you have Atletico Madrid and Leicester City. Similar styles of play and really just the powerhouse of Atletico Madrid against the surprise team left of Leicester City. So these matchups ought to be fantastic. And of course, when the time is right, given a couple weeks from now, we will preview these games in depth. When you look at the first leg, Juventus will be home against Barcelona, Dortmund will be home against Monaco, Bayern Munich will be home against Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid will be home against Leicester City. So I think depending on the fixtures, it could determine a lot of different things. So that ought to be interesting to look at and interesting, really, really fun to watch. So with that being said, we will take our first break of the show here today. After the break, we're going to talk about the results and fixtures from all of the top leagues around Europe this weekend. Also, an update on the table as these clubs go into the international break for a week. So let's take our first break here at the GSMC Soccer Podcast, and we'll be right back talking about that week that was in soccer.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. Talking about results from this weekend and also updating you on the tables. We're going to start off with the Premier League on Saturday morning. Definitely a lot of implications coming into this game for Arsenal. They've really been struggling out of the Champions League again. 2 bad results against Bayern Munich, and really struggling as of late. Fans are definitely upset. Arsene Wenger's future at Arsenal is still uncertain, and it didn't get any better on Saturday. West Brom at the Hawthorns defeat Arsenal 3-1. This is Arsenal's 4th loss in their last 5 Premier League games and 3rd loss in a row on the road. All 3 of those scorelines coming from 3-1. Craig Dawson scores a couple of headers from corner kicks. It's not looking good for Arsenal right now. Crystal Palace pick up a 1-0 victory over Watford through a Troy Deeney own goal. Big victory there for Crystal Palace as they are trying to avoid relegation. Sunderland and Burnley played to a 0-0 draw. Romelu Lukaku gets a couple of goals in extra time to give Everton a 4-0 victory over Hull City. Lukaku now with 21 goals in the league. That's the top scorer, 21 goals. And given that Harry Kane is going to be out about 3 to 5 more weeks, Lukaku could really win the Golden Boot now. Chelsea pick up a 2-1 victory over Stoke City. Gary Cahill, the winning goal in the 87th minute. Leicester City pick up a 3-2 victory over West Ham. Leicester were up 3-0 at one point, and then West Ham slowly creep back in. But Leicester still have not lost since they sacked Claudio Ranieri. They've won every single game. Bournemouth pick up a 2-0 victory over Swansea City. Good result for them. On Sunday, Man United, they are finally out of 6th place because they picked up a 3-1 victory over Middlesbrough. Tottenham, without Harry Kane, get goals from Eriksen and Dele Alli to give them a 2-1 victory over Southampton. And the big matchup was Manchester City against Liverpool. It's only a 1-1 draw. Kind of disappointing there. But, I mean, James Milner did score, and then Sergio Aguero scored for City to even it up. So, when you look at the updated table going into this international break, still have Chelsea flying high. They have a 10-point lead over Tottenham. Manchester City, they are 57 points, 2 points back of Tottenham. Liverpool in 4th with 56 points. Manchester United, like I said, out of 6 finally in 5th with 52 points. And Arsenal in 6th now with 50 points, although they do have a couple of games in hand in comparison to Liverpool. But also do Manchester United. So it's going to get very interesting for the race for the top 4. I feel like maybe Liverpool will probably drop out. I think United will probably jump in. And then I think Arsenal will really miss out. I really do. I think they finished 5th or 6th this year. Everton 7th with 50 points as well. They're having a very, very good season. And West Brom in 8th with 43 points. They look like they're firmly going to be in that 8th position because Stoke City are in 9th with 36 points. So at the bottom of the table, you have Sunderland 20 points. You have Middlesbrough 22 points. You have Hull City 24 points. And then Swansea at 27. Palace at 28. And then Leicester in at 30. So bottom of the table is going to be really interesting. It looks like it's going to be Sunderland, probably Middlesbrough, and Hull City. But they do have a couple of games in hand, so you do not know. It's still definitely left up for grabs. Let's look at La Liga now. On Friday, we had Las Palmas beat Villarreal 1-0. On Saturday, Eibar and Espanyol, they played, and Espanyol and Eibar drew at 1-1. You had Real Madrid pick up a 2-1 victory over Atletico Bilbao. Cristiano Ronaldo scoring a goal in that game. Real Betis defeat Osasuna 2-0. Alaves defeat Real Sociedad 1-0. Malaga and Leganes played to a 0-0 draw. Best matchup of the day was definitely Atletico Madrid and Sevilla. Atletico Madrid do win 3-1 over Sevilla. They now jump them, and they are now playing really, really well, and they're not in third yet, but they're vastly approaching, only 2 points back of Sevilla now, so they're getting ready to jump them. Antoine Griezmann scored a free kick in this game that was absolutely spectacular. Celta Vigo defeat Deportivo 1-0. Sporting Gijón defeat Granada 3-1, and then Barcelona and Valencia had kind of a back-and-forth game yesterday. Valencia would score, then Barcelona would score, then Valencia would score, then Barcelona would score. But Barcelona ultimately pull away from 10-man Valencia and defeat them 4-2. So you look at the La Liga table, you still have Real Madrid with a 2-point lead and a game in hand at the top of the table there. You have Barcelona in second with 63 points, Sevilla in third with 57 points, Atletico Madrid in fourth with 55 points, although they've been playing really, really well as of late. Then you have fifth and sixth, they're tied with 48 points, that's Villarreal and Real Sociedad. Bottom of the table, you have Osasuna, only 11 points. You have Granada at 19. You have Sporting Gijón with 21. Then Leganes with 26. Deportivo and Malaga with 27. Let's go over to talk about the Bundesliga now. So when you're looking at the German Bundesliga from this weekend, a lot of great results. A lot of unfortunate results, though, for RB Leipzig, because on Saturday they dropped to Werder Bremen 3-0. Leipzig now 3 losses in a row now in the league. They're not really playing well. On Friday, you had Dortmund pick up a 1-0 victory over Ingolstadt. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang scores his 23rd league goal of the season. Ingolstadt has a team have 23 league goals. Aubameyang has as many goals as the whole entire club of Ingolstadt. I think that tells the scenario right there and why Ingolstadt are bottom of the table. On Saturday, you have some more results. Wolfsburg pick up a 1-0 victory over Darmstadt. FC Augsburg and FC Freiburg played to a 1-1 draw. FC Cologne get a hat-trick from Anthony Modesta to defeat Hertha Berlin 4-2. Hoffenheim defeat Bayer Leverkusen 1-0. Eintracht and Hamburg played to a 0-0 draw. You have on Sunday Schalke and Mainz play each other, and Schalke did pick up a 1-0 victory over Mainz. And then you get a goal from Thomas Müller for Bayern Munich to defeat Borussia Mönchengladbach 1-0. So you look at the Bundesliga table, and the Bundesliga is basically done and over with. Bayern Munich have absolutely ran away with it. They have a 13-point lead at the table now with only 11 games to go. RB Leipzig in second, 13 points back. Then you have kind of the race for the top four. That'll be a little interesting for second, third, and fourth. Leipzig are, of course, in second right now with 49 points. You have Dortmund in third, only 3 points behind them at 46. You have Hoffenheim in fourth with 45. Then you have Hertha Berlin in fifth with 40. FC Cologne in sixth with 37. So between Leipzig and Hertha Berlin, between second and fifth, you only have a 9-point gap there. So it could get a little interesting as far as who could definitely jump up. At the bottom of the table, you have Darmstadt in last with 15, and Ingolstadt second to last with 19. Then you have a big drop-off there. Hamburg 27, Wolfsburg, Augsburg, Werder Bremen, and Mainz all with 29. So definitely looks like to me Ingolstadt and Darmstadt will be relegated to the Bundesliga 2. But there's still a lot of games left. I mean, there's still 11 for all these clubs. And given that the Bundesliga did have a winter break, a lot of results are going to start picking up after this international break entails. So it'll be really tight and really interesting in the Bundesliga, but Bayern Munich are definitely running away with it, and I don't see anyone catching them. I honestly don't. In Serie A on Saturday, Torino and Inter Milan played to a 2-2 draw. AC Milan defeat Genoa 1-0. On Sunday, Napoli jumped out to a 3-0 halftime lead, but Empoli started coming back, but they ultimately hold on at 3-2. Napoli get a goal, a 30-yard free kick from Dries Mertens. That was fantastic. Juventus pick up a 1-0 victory over Sampdoria through Juan Cuadrado's header. Atalanta defeat Pescara 3-0. Lazio and Cagliari played to a 0-0 draw. Bologna defeat Chievo 4-1. Fiorentina defeat Crotone 1-0. Udinese defeat Palermo 4-1. And Roma overtake then Napoli, who was second. They overtake them for second after the victory over Sassuolo 3-1 yesterday as well. So you look at the Serie A table, still have Juventus 8 points clear of the top over Roma. Napoli are in third, 2 points back of Roma with 63 points. Lazio in fourth with 57 points. Then you have Inter Milan and Atalanta fifth and sixth with 55 points. And then AC Milan in seventh with 53 points. So as I've been mentioning, the race for that fourth position between Lazio, Inter Milan, Atalanta, and AC Milan will get really interesting. Roma and Napoli and Juventus are firmly in those top three positions, but the race for fourth will be very tight. You have Lazio currently there, but they only have a 4-point lead over 7th place Milan. So it'll be very, very interesting and tight. At the bottom of the table, you have Pescara at 12 points. You have Crotone with 14 points, Palermo with 15 points. Then Empoli are 7 points clear of Palermo in 17th place. So still a lot of games. You're looking at 9 games left, but it looks like Pescara and Crotone and Palermo will probably be getting relegated into Serie B. So looking at League One now, right before we take the last break of our show today, looking at some results. On Friday, Metz defeat Bastia 1-0. Lille and Marseille play to a scoreless draw. Nantes and Nice, a 1-1 draw. Bad result there for Nice. Lorient defeat Nancy-Lorraine 3-2. Toulouse and Rennes play to a 0-0 draw. Bordeaux, a huge 5-1 victory over Montpellier. Angers defeat Ginkamp 3-0. Monaco get a couple of goals from the young sensation Kylian Mbappe. He's now got 10 goals in his last 10 games. And they defeat Caen 3-0 to stay atop League One. Saint-Étienne defeat Dijon 1-0. And PSG defeats Lyon 2-1. That was the score at halftime. They got a couple of goals in there from Julian Draxler as well as Angel Di Maria to defeat Lyon 2-1. So you look at the table, good result there for PSG as well, seeing as how Monaco did win. So you look at the table, it's still Monaco at the top with 71 points. They have 87 goals through 30 games. They need 13 goals in their last 8 games to get 100 league goals. Do you think they could do it? 13-8? I mean, I don't see how they don't. I really, really think that's a great, great chance, and Monaco will probably do it, scoring goals at an all-time historic rate. I mean, they've just been fantastic this year. PSG are in second, only 3 points back, though. At 68 points. You have Nice in fourth with 64 points. They are 7 points back of Monaco, so they're kind of slowly falling away through it. Although they only have 2 league losses, which is the lowest in the league, the problem is they're just not winning games. They're getting a lot of draws like they did this week against Nantes. They have 10 draws. That's tied for 4th in the league. So not really good there for Nice. And then you have Lyon in 4th at 50 points. So they're really, really far back of Nice. They're 14 points back there. So it's a race for the top 3. But I think it's really just a race for the top 2, Monaco and PSG. Can Monaco hold on? They seem to always get the results they need. They seem to always get the goals. I don't know if PSG can really catch them. It's only 3 points back. But Monaco simply just do not draw because they score so many goals. And they're not really giving up that much. Only 26, which is the third lowest amount given up. So really, really good season for Monaco, and they found themselves in the last 8 because of it. In the Champions League, of course. At the bottom of the table, you have Lorient with 25 points. You have Bastia with 25 points. You have Nancy-Lorraine with 28, and then Dijon with 28 as well. So that last spot to get relegated ought to be interesting between these last 4 teams here at the bottom of League One. With that being said, we'll take our last break of the show. After the break, we're going to talk about the international break really quickly. What games are going to be played? Who are you looking at? I mean, what matchups do we have? It kind of sucks. The league campaign is on break for 1 more week. But it's always good for the international break and to see what international players can perform for their nations. So it's not too bad, but I would still much rather prefer that we have the league season because, quite honestly, international friendlies just don't really cut it for me. But nevertheless, we will take our last break of the show and we'll talk about the international break, what games we're looking forward to right here at the GSMC Soccer Podcast.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Thank you for returning back to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. We got one more segment here before we say goodbye for 1 more week. Unfortunately, we only have a week to talk about all this stuff, and going to fit so much in a 1 week basis, so short time frame, have to cover a whole week, but that's okay, it's better than not talking about it all. This is the greatest sport in the world after all, and we got to just kind of power through. So one more segment here, we're looking at the international break, which we are, I guess you say, currently on. So let's talk about some results, talk about some games I'm looking forward to. On Wednesday, we're going to have Germany against England. It seems like these two nations seem to always have an international friendly. Last couple of times we've had this go on. Germany against England ought to be a good one. Marcus Rashford did just get called up to the English national team senior squad, given an injury to Mikel Antonio of West Ham. So let's see if he gets put in here. I mean, given the striker needs for England right now, they're not going to have Harry Kane. Daniel Sturridge is not there. So they're really going to need some strikers up there. So let's see if Gareth Southgate, who's the manager, throws Marcus Rashford, the young sensation, up there against Germany. That'll be interesting to see. That's definitely one matchup on Wednesday that I'm really, really looking forward to. As far as some other results that I'm looking forward to at the international break, I mean, there is some good matchups when you look at Tuesday. That Tuesday is when there's a ton of matchups. That is Tuesday, March 27th. Definitely one matchup I'm looking at is going to be France and Spain, two of the best nations in all the world of soccer. It seems like we're kind of just gearing up and getting a taste and idea of what we're going to see in the World Cup. Some experiments by some of these national team managers to kind of tamper with of what connections kind of work and what connections kind of don't. One connection that to me has never worked is Belgium. Belgium are taking on Russia on Tuesday, by the way. And I really just don't know why. It's never worked for Belgium. You look at their squad and their depth, and it's absolutely insane. You could have a front three of Romelu Lukaku, Eden Hazard, and Dries Mertens. You could have a midfield of people like Axel Witsel, Kevin De Bruyne, Rashid Nainggolan, Moussa Dembele. It's so strange how Belgium just don't get it together. You have a back four of people like Jan Vertonghen, Toby Alderweireld, Thomas Meunier. You have Thibaut Courtois back there in goal. So many stars, but as a team, they just don't really mesh, and they've really disappointed in the World Cup and in the Euros in last summer. Hopefully they can get it going because the depth they have is crazy. You think about people they could bring in off the bench like Yannick Carrasco and people like Christian Benteke or Origi up front. I mean, Moussa Dembele. It's so key that they can bring in all these big-time players off the bench, and their depth is absolutely insane. But it just never really works out for Belgium. Hopefully at the World Cup coming up next summer, it'll get worked out in Russia. But nevertheless, they'll be taking on Russia on Tuesday. The Netherlands will battle Italy. That'll be a good matchup there. I want to see what Iceland do, seeing as the success they had at the Euros last year. They're taking on the Republic of Ireland, who are just kind of riding high, seeing as how St. Paddy's Day was last Friday. Portugal, the European champions, will take on Sweden. That'll be an interesting matchup there. So there's a lot of good matchups. I mean, the international break is definitely something that I don't want to say I don't like it. It's good to see some international games and some friendlies, but a lot of people take it kind of easy. It's nothing like the club season, and I'm not really big on the international breaks. They have them really, really often. And unless we have like World Cup qualifying going on, or like a tournament going on, I'm not really big on it because it's just a friendly. It doesn't really mean too much for some of these guys. It's good to get back with some of their countrymen and play for their team and all, but I mean, it's not the same thing. You get what I'm saying? So it's kind of disappointing, but it is just 1 week, and then we can get back to the club season, of course. So that's where we're going to end the show here today. Of course, next week we will sort of recap some of these international friendly fixtures, talk about what games are upcoming in the club season for the weekend, and kind of just talk any news if there is any on the world of soccer. We got a lot of compelling stuff, but we can only fit so much into our small time frame. So next week, since we don't have Champions League action really for a couple of weeks now, we can kind of catch up on some news and some up-to-date stuff on soccer, which is always great. So we're going to be concluding the show today here. My name is Ben Brown. I'd like to thank you once again for listening here at the GSMC Soccer Podcast. Have a good day, have a good week, and we will see you guys next time. Goodbye.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.